Welcome to the Daily Crack today, and a happy new year to everyone. We're back in the gym as always. Now I forgot my fucking tripod, so this phone is now balanced on a Kleenex box with what you call it, the spray that cleans the toilet balanced behind it. So, and I need to be close because whatever the fucking crack is with the camera, the microphone isn't top of the pops. So I don't know if you're fucking hearing this even properly. But anyway, usual crack. If you're watching this live, hashtag live. If you're watching this later on, hashtag later on. And the big question is compound exercises over isolated exercises. Give you an example. A compound lift, in my eyes, a big compound lift would be a back squat. An isolated movement might be a Bulgarian split squat or a leg extension compared to the compound. Which is better if one is better than the other? Listen, when you do a big compound lift, for example, the back squat, I'll be using the back squat a lot as an example in this little bit of a chat. If you do a back squat, you're going to be recruiting a lot more muscle in your body. Therefore, getting a lot more bang for your buck. Simple as. So when you do a back squat, you brace the muscles in your shoulders, your chest, your back, your core, your legs, your arse, your adductors, even the muscles in the soles of your feet get recruited. So if you're trying to get as much activation as possible, the back squat would be the way forward. Now, in an isolated movement, for example, a Bulgarian split squat, you might be isolating the quad on one leg and more so than the other, like in one leg in particular. Or for example, just a static lunge, just up and down in a lunge position. You might be getting the glute on one side and the quad on the other side. So, let's think about this for a second. Where would one be more of an advantage over the other? Well, it all depends on your goal. If you're looking to improve and get a bigger back squat, well, working on the back squat might be the way forward. But an isolated movement is still an advantage when it comes to improving your back squat. So let me give you an example. So if you're doing back squat all the time to improve your back squat, you will get to a certain point where you will receive or you will work into diminishing returns, where your back squat just won't move forward anymore because you're just going through that same movement pattern over and over again. A lot of the time what can happen is we can breathe in some impurities into that movement pattern and maybe some imbalances where we start working too much through one leg. And we've all seen it as coaches. We've all seen this shit where you see someone stand up out of a squat where the hips swing to one side or a knee dives in, and more back squats in that particular instance is not going to be the fix. What's going to be the fix in that particular incidence will be some isolated work. For example, a Bulgarian split squat, where you're requiring balance in the foot and you're requiring stability through those other muscles. So when it comes down to the question, what is better? Is compound movements better than isolated exercises or movements? Well, I'm going to tell you, not one is better than the other at all. It's the correct combination of both that's going to reap for you the best rewards, regardless of what your goals are. If you're trying to get a bigger number in a bench press or a back squat, just doing those two movements is not going to be the most advantageous way to get to those bigger numbers. Plus, if you're trying to build some muscle and get some size, a combination. That's what bodybuilding is best known for. The combination of different movements on different body parts to create the best outcome. Now, a lot of people will associate isolated exercises with bodybuilding only, but I think any smart CrossFit gym will be adding in a lot more of these isolated movements in order to help their athletes improve. For example, you think about the snatch movement where you require your body to catch a heavy weight overhead in this position. Now, think about the shoulder joint only for a second, not even thinking about the elbow joint. Think about how important it would be to build muscle through the pec, the shoulder, and the lats, just to help stabilize that weight overhead. The heavier the weight overhead, the more stability you need in these muscles. So would it not make sense to do dumbbell bench press, maybe some shoulder press, and maybe some pull movements in order to build those pecs, shoulders, and lats in order to stabilize that weight overhead? To me, that would make sense, because in the snatch, you're not really working on those particular muscles. You're just moving through a position very, very fast and just relying on what's there to catch it. So you take a look at some of the Chinese weightlifting and even the American weightlifting, and you look at all the bodybuilding training they add in to their weightlifting routines. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So if these guys are the best in the sport and they're doing all this isolated work, doesn't it make sense that we add in a combination of isolated work with our compound movements? So something for you to think about. Look at the way your programming is structured at the moment, and is like, especially if you're in a CrossFit gym, is the majority of the work you're doing compound? And if it is, maybe where could you add in a little bit of isolated work? And maybe you're suffering with some sort of a hip or a knee or a shoulder issue at the moment. Would you benefit from doing a little bit of isolated work currently? Because I know for a fact, when I have someone that has an injury, that doesn't mean they stop training. That means we just adjust what they're doing. And a lot of the time, that accessory work, that bodybuilding work, that isolated movement work allows them to train hard still, but recover and come back stronger. So have a look at your own programming, see what you're doing. Are you doing one more than the other? And if you are, where could you incorporate a little bit more of what you're not doing? Because that stuff ain't boring, especially if you're doing it right. You can still work really fucking hard. You can still get a really good training stimulus, and you're going to reap the rewards. You're going to be stronger. And this is not me saying that like if you're doing all compound, that's better, or you're doing all isolated, that's better. I'm saying to do a mixture of both in the correct amounts, and it all depends on your goals, is the best way forward. But knowing and having a good coach to tell you what you should be doing is optimal. All right, so what's better? Compound or isolated? It's the combination that's key. That's your daily crack for today. Giddy up. I'm glad my little makeshift tripod hung in there. Giddy up.